Okay, today we are looking at vaccination and we start with a song. How great is the Lord? How great is his name? He's the greatest God, forever the same. He rolled back the water of the mighty Red Sea. He said, I will be with you, only trust in me. We need to prepare ourselves against the wiles of the enemy, which is really what vaccination is about, including for COVID, for childhood diseases like measles, whooping cough, and the rest. Usually, uh, the child or whoever it is that is to get the vaccine, candidate for the vaccine, is given a weakened, antigen, and then the body begins to fight it so that eventually, when the child encounters measles or whooping cough, or even in this instance, COVID, the body is already, prepared to really launch an attack against those uh, diseases, and then the person remains healthy. In the Christian race, we also need to be vaccinated. We need to be aware of all the antics of the enemy. And you can look at Paul writing to the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should take advantage of us. We are not ignorant of his devices. We need to be prepared, because we know there will be an onslaught of the devil. I know in this particular context, he was writing, particularly in terms of church discipline. If somebody has, you know, gone through church discipline, sometimes there can actually be problems. Sometimes the church or members can overreach themselves. Maybe they, in trying to, you know, uh, bring about that discipline, they might actually end up, making the person depart from the faith. Or sometimes people develop arrogance because they feel, me, I'm better off. I didn't commit a fornication or adultery or fraud. And so, and then the Satan can actually come in and people can actually lose their faith because they become proud. And then we know that, destruction comes when people become proud. So, he was basically trying to prepare the Corinthians against all the wiles of the enemy. But of course, this also applies to the whole Christian experience. If you look at 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3 and 14, but I fear lest by any means as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind might also be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. You know. So the enemy is always present. Sometimes people feel, oh, I just acknowledge my sin. I acknowledge that the fact that Christ died for me. That is it. So they begin to feel like, I mean, I don't have to go through all these kinds of motions and that motion. And sometimes they begin to take the faith for granted. And they can actually lose their faith. Then, of course, we have Song of Solomon 2:15, catch us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines are tender grapes. You have false teachers and they are bound into this world. Some of them are televangelists, very popular, but you see the kinds of things that they are mouthing and the kinds of things that they are spouting out. You can see that these are just agents of the enemy. So you have, and of course, they were there even in the early church where you have false teachers, you know, uh, teaching for doctrine, the commandments of men, bringing all kinds of things that has nothing to do with the gospel, and of course, using devilish power to deceive people. So they are very crafty, just like the foxes, and they're actually able to lead people astray. And that is why, you know, eternal vigilance is required. If you look at Peter writing, First Peter chapter 5, verse 6, be sober-minded and alert, for your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom to devour. You cannot afford to let down your guard as a Christian. You need to be on guard all the time so that your life is pleasing to the Lord.